Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to the 6th installment of the Christmas Countdown. So here we go again, it's time to bring you another episode, episode 6 of the 2022 GWV Christmas Countdown. And we're going to be looking at the long-range FFB2 6Z model once again. We'll see what it's got to say for Christmas for this one. I shall get on with that for you in a moment. Just to say that the first video released today was 6am upload. We've released the European Outlook as well. And we did a 10 to 14 day, or I attempted to, but I was coughing and spluttering throughout. So if you want to hear me coughing away like an old, I don't know, an old trooper, then have a look. I persevered though, I got to the end of it. I thought I'd probably going to die midway through, but actually I got to the end and the show went on. So have a look at that if you'd like to do that. Please like and subscribe on the video. Very dark here at time. I'm keeping the lights on because I'm trying to keep it energy costs down. No, I'll put the light on after I got the video. It's just suddenly dialed up. So, what was I saying? Yeah, if you would like to, please like, subscribe. Thank you so much, everybody, for doing that. Thank you so much to Richard for the Christmas updates gift. Thank you so much, Richard, for the gift. I love the snowman, from the snowball. So seasonal and festive. Thank you so much, Richard, for the incredible and amazing 2 Christmas updates gifts that we've got this year. Right, well, with that said, I think we'll go over to metacella.fr, shall we? We'll have a look. Let's do it. Right. So, just to say again, we're just using this for trend, trying to find a trend within the model. It is too far away, Christmas, to be able to pinpoint the weather for Christmas Day. Of course, you know, it's several weeks away still, so we're just looking for a trend within the long-range CFS model. For around Christmas period, so that's like early to mid-December to late December to early January, that kind of period. And Christmas right in the middle of that, of course. But trend, there have been a trend actually so far. These updates have generally been a mild trend for Christmas, and often quite wet and rather sorry. I think the last update was a little bit drier. But generally the trend has been towards a mild, wettish, windy Christmas. Of course, just because you have a trend though does not necessarily mean that it's a correct trend. Last year we had a trend for like quite a cold Christmas with a lot of the updates, and it all fell apart at the end, you know, 2 days to go, so you just never know. Right, okay, let's move over to metacella.fr, and we're going to have a look at the GFS 6Z run. This was generated at 6 a.m. yesterday on the 16th of November, so let's do this for you then, shall we? We start off with high pressure out to our west here. This is the first day of December. Got high pressure out to our west. We're bringing in a rather cool northerly type wind there. And then the high pressure builds in through the 2nd of December. That brings dry but quite cold, frosty weather. High pressure moving up towards Scandinavia there on the 4th of December. That brings in an easterly wind. That could deliver some snow showers with those east winds in the southern and eastern parts of the country. Opening days of December, nice Scandinavian high through the first week of December, delivering cold and wintry conditions. Now, moving further on, we've got low pressure coming in from off the Atlantic here on the 7th of December. That's coming up against that Scandinavian high, moving into the cold air. That could deliver a snow event. Notice the elongation in the isobars, telling us that the frontal systems are weakening as they push across the country and struggling. So that is kind of thing that can deliver a snow event. However, that pushes through, and then milder air breaks in from the Atlantic, especially to the north. Although most parts of the country find themselves under high pressure into the 2nd week of December. So that's going to be like a dry and quite cold. Actually, there will be snow on the ground, of course, there. So cold, frosty, and about which of high pressure. Before the high eventually slips southwards, and we start to introduce milder air in from off the Atlantic by the 10th. So then we run on into the rest of the 2nd week of December, and we still have high pressure generally to our north. Again, trying to get Scandinavia here as we move into the middle of December. I'm going to try to pull colder air back in from the east again. Might be a few snow showers again coming into southern and eastern areas on those easterly winds before the high pressure finally slips southwards, and we get into the second half of December. It turns a lot milder and also stormier. All these purple curves here within the North Atlantic. That's the polar vortex and the Atlantic whatnot ramping up. So begin to turn wet and windy at 17th December. Begin to turn wet and windy as we start approaching Christmas. Right, let's get to Christmas then with a 6 update, see what it's going to do. And mild, wet, windy here on the 19th of December, long fetch southwest, see that bringing very mild air into the south, but there is a lot of rain associated with that. Also, gale force winds noticed for tightly packed isobars, so looking wet and windy as we start to approach Christmas. And then that keeps things mild up to Christmas. So this is Christmas Eve, 23rd of December, high pressure over France, low pressure Greenland, Iceland. It's another mild Christmas update. I think this one, Christmas Eve itself, again bringing like a weather system into the north. That's wet and windy. South is mostly dry. All areas looking mild with winds in from the Atlantic. And then Christmas Day on the 6th Christmas update looks like that. So a little bit cooler for Christmas Day. We start bringing something a bit colder from the North Atlantic. So that could turn showers wintering over Scotland. Otherwise, further south, probably mostly dry, sunny spells and whatnot. Relatively mild in the south, colder further north with those northwest winds. It's not a cold Christmas though by any means that. And then Boxing Day, the high pressure reaching in across the country, bring us a mostly dry Boxing Day. But again, could be a little bit on the cool side, maybe even touches of frost, especially so in more southern western areas. Right, let's move up towards the new year then, see what happens. So high pressure then dominating weather over the country just after Christmas at 27th of December. So dry and cold with an increasing risk of overnight frost. The high pressure is edging its way towards Scandinavia. You will notice, and we've got a big pool of cold air sitting across much of eastern Europe as well, so very snowy and bitterly cold across many eastern parts of Europe. That high pressure getting ever more towards Scandinavia here in the closing days of December. And so as we run up towards the new year, it begins to turn colder. We start to draw in easterly winds. They probably bring snow showers. So remember the easterly we had like earlier on in December. It goes around Christmas, but it comes back by the end of the month. And those easterly winds start to bring this bitterly cold air our way. So that is New Year's Eve. Let's just go back to that. New Year's Eve. Probably mostly dry, a few snow showers around eastern coastal areas, but otherwise mainly dry and cold for New Year's Eve. But New Year's Day starts to draw in a proper easterly wind. And with this cold pull, we would bring in either snow showers or possibly some longer spells of snow from the east will start to get drawn in on those easterly winds. So a very wintry start to 2023 with those easterlies. Now there's an actual area of low pressure that's forming within that cold air. So that's kind of thing that can bring quite a lot of snow to southern and eastern areas in the new year. Bear in mind, this is all just for fun, everybody. It's very unlikely to verify. But we do get like a cold easterly setting in for the new year, bringing increasing risk of snow to many parts of the country in the opening days of January. Let's run a little bit further on, see what happens. So we find that low pressure wind tries coming from off the Atlantic, but is struggling. The wind stays in from a cold southeasterly direction. High pressure over Scandinavia still, ridging towards Greenland as well. So this looks very blocked and very cold through the opening week of January. That low pressure, as it's showing to get in, would be bringing snow to western areas. Most other parts of the country remain dry. Could be snow showers being brought in on those southeast winds, of course. And absolutely freezing cold. Moving towards the second week of January, the low pressure stages an attack from the Atlantic, but that's moving into the cold air and not really dislodging that cold air. So this brings snow quite widely across the country, I would have thought, through the second week of January. That looks very wintry, maybe turning a little bit milder down in the south and in the southwest. And then moving on into the middle part of the month, well, high pressure again building over the country and starting to get towards Scandinavia. We start to bring easterly winds back in again. Not sure it ever really turns milder, to be honest, and by the middle of January we're still looking very cold with high pressure keeping the weather cold and mostly dry, but also very frosty and whatnot. It's a really cold January, actually, on this GFS run. Really, really cold January. That's the 20th. Well beyond Christmas now. I should be going this far, but, we're still bringing those east-northeasterly winds, so it remains very cold with snow showers or southern and eastern parts of the country. And there's no real end to this, even right to the end of January. Look at that, by 27th we're drawing in northerly winds again. That is a very, very, very cold January on that particular CFS run. Not really related to Christmas, but I thought it'd be interesting. Do you want to go on even further? It does look very poised there, doesn't it, with those northerly winds? So going into the closing days of January, looking about very cold northeasterly winds, so people bring more snow with them into February. Still high pressure, look at that, into early February, high pressure going up towards Scandinavia, still trying to draw in those easterly winds, remain cold even into February. So that is a very, very cold January on this Christmas update. But the Christmas itself, actually, and, it often does work out like this, Christmas itself, it turns milder and wetter and windier, and it's actually the mildest phase that we have in several weeks that occurs over the days of Christmas. Right, well, that's it for the 6th Christmas update. We'll do the 7th update for you. I would have thought on Saturday, might be Sunday. I have to wait and see. Got a lot of updates to do on Saturday. So it'll be over the weekend anyway. Some Christmas update will be coming up over the weekend. And we shall have a look once. Ouch, I just bit my tongue. We shall have a look once more then. For this 6th Christmas update, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much to Richard for the incredible Christmas updates gear. And that's all for now. And we'll see you soon over the weekend for update number 7 of the Christmas Countdown. For visual mode, that's all for now. Thanks for watching. Bye for now. Jingle bells!